Okay, good morning. Shalom Aleichem, everybody. We are back. We're learning Megillas Rus. We were planning on learning Megillas Rus for temporarily during Sfiras Omer. If I would like to use this slot now maybe to learn some Tanakh. So we could definitely continue with the Megillas Rus. If anyone has any other suggestions or any plans moving forward, I am happy to hear other suggestions from you.
Rabbi.
Yes.
I asked this question to Rabbi Yudin yesterday, and he gave me an answer. So, I understand what he was saying, but since we're learning Rus, is there any particular reason, except for the fact that maybe the first day of Shavuos we're dead tired, that we put Rus off to the second day? I mean, in Eretz Yisrael, there's only one day of Yontif, so they have to lay it on the night that they're learning all night. But is there anything inherently in the second day of Yontif or why Rus should be laying there, or is it just a practical reason for the fact is that you stood up all night?
My gut is it's a practical reason. Also, my gut is if you look at Yontifs in general, we push the Megillos are generally read not on the first day. You know, they're not read at the beginning. So for Shavuos in Eretz Yisrael, you have no choice. Koheles is the end is Chol HaMoed. Shir is Chol HaMoed. So maybe it follows that model too, that in Chutz La'aretz, if we could push it off and it's not reset on the first day, because we have 2 days, then maybe that's another reason why it's recited then. I haven't seen anything else besides for that. But if you think of something and comes up, please feel free to share. So we're in the middle of the second paragraph of Megillas Rus. I encourage everybody this afternoon, or this, it's 12:30 today. Rabbi Dr. Norman Lamb passed away yesterday or 2 days ago, and his levaya was yesterday. It was a private funeral held for the family, and there's a public askara today in his memory with many different speeches. We sent it out to the shul. I felt a responsibility to send it out to the shul as part of university, part of modern Orthodoxy, a leader in so many ways. I had the zchus of having many personal interactions with him. He oversaw the Kol Elyon when I was there. Besides reading, he was still the president of YU for a few years when I was still in Yeshiva University as an undergrad. But being part of the Kol Elyon, we had to get tested from him. We had individual personal bechinas with him. And he organized, I think I shared different stories over the years from these events, but he organized he had a boardroom on the 5th floor of the Morgenstern building. And in there, not Morgan, Muss, not remembering all the names of the places. We had meetings with him 10 times a year, and he brought in speakers and leaders from the Jewish community. And he always had the most amazing things to say. And he also is my father-in-law's first cousin. Rabbi Lamb is my father-in-law. He's part of Seir's Mishpacha. And my father-in-law would be one of the people. His drushos are all printed up, and I think I've gained tremendous amount from his drushos and from all of his writings throughout my short rabbinic career, but most personally as well, they've been extremely inspiring. So I hope that over the course of the next few weeks, I'll try to add some of his Torah into what we're learning. And for sure, the drasha on this coming Thursday night will be connected. Well, we'll talk about Rabbi Lamb in more depth. I'll share some personal stories and some recollections that I have with him and of him.
Rabbi, the tribute is on Tuesday, tomorrow, June 2nd.
Oh, okay. I'm off. It's Tuesday.
Tomorrow,
okay.
Tomorrow.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
The tribute is on Tuesday, not today. So it's tomorrow. It's tomorrow. I'm sure more details will come out in terms of who exactly is speaking. Some of the Rabbanim are there, not the family members, but it is very, very worthwhile to go and to participate and be involved. So we began the second parak of Megillas Rus with Naomi and Rus going into back to unknown community, unknown land. It was a place that Naomi grew up in, where she knows very well, but she hasn't been there for quite some time. And her life was altered in very significant ways. She lost her husband. she lost her two sons, and now she's coming back with a foreign woman who is her daughter-in-law, who is a Giores. And they come in and like everyone is like, that's Naomi. Oh my gosh, like she's like a mess. She looks like a mess. That's not how we remember her, how we recall her. And this is such a change to who she was and where she's going. Now we're learning about in the second parak. We learn about how Rus takes Naomi under her wing and bears responsibility for Naomi's livelihood and for the food and for everything else, and how she herself needs to get acclimated to a new world. It's not just a new place that she's living in, but now she is Jewish, right? And how is she viewed from the outside by outsiders, and how does she view herself? That's what we've been learning about. We learned that in the very beginning, she says, "I'm going to get some food from the tzedakah fund." The tzedakah fund back then was you went to the fields, and in the fields there was something called payah, and every single landowner needed to set aside a portion of the field, a corner of their field, specifically for the aniyim, for the poor. And there was leket and shikha and payah, different halachos related to these to feed the poor. And Naomi Rus goes, and she doesn't know who to go with. We learned that last time. First day of school, like which friends do I associate myself with? And she keeps on going and coming and going and coming until she finds the right crowd to go with. And that's where we left off. And she finally leaves, and she ends up in the field of Boaz. Who's Boaz? Boaz is the Gadol Hador. Boaz is the shofet of the generation. He actually has a different name in Sefer Shoftim. His name was Ivtzan. Ivtzan, the Navi tells us, he had 30 sons and 30 daughters who all died. And Chazal tell us that the day that Rus and Naomi come to town, he had buried his 61st relative. He had all of his children, his sons and his daughters at 60, and his wife just died. And that's Boaz, and he's a landowner. He's a wealthy person, and he's very well known. And she ends up, right? The funny language is, if you look at Pasuk Gimel, Vayikar Mikra. It happened to be. We know, and we don't believe in happened to be. That's the language of Amalek. That's Amalek's language. But Vayikar Mikra, it happened to be that she ends up in the Chelkas Asad Boaz Hashem Mishpachas Elimelech, who was from the family of Elimelech. She is a relative to this individual, to Boaz. So Boaz comes, Pasuk Dalet, V'hine Boaz ba mi Beis Lechem. Boaz comes from Beis Lechem, Vayomer Lakotrim. And he says to the harvesters, to the people around, Hashem imachem. Hashem should be with you. And they said back to him, Yivarechecha Hashem. Right? So they're like, he says to them, may God be with you. And they say, Baruch Hashem, God should be with you too. It's like a funny exchange. Like, why does this need to be mentioned in the Navi? Why does a Navi need to tell us for posterity how people used to speak to each other in that generation? The Gemara says because this is something that was different. It was unique. It was not standard in this generation, and Boaz are trying to change a standard as to how people spoke to one another. The Gemara in Brachos tells us that one of the things that Boaz established during his generation, he was a shofet. He made a takana, right? To make a takana, you need to be a leader. You need to have broad shoulders, and it needs to be something that helps your people. So what did he do? He made a takana that she adam shoel al shlom chaver b'shem. That when somebody sees somebody else, they see their friend, they should inquire about them and say hello to them with God's name. Literally, not Baruch Hashem, but Baruch Ado, right? Yud Kei Vav Kei. And you learn that out from this pasuk over here that Boaz did this. Boaz made a halacha that people should greet other individuals with God's name. Now, why was that? Why was that necessary? Why do you think? Why was that necessary for Boaz to make a takana that now all of a sudden people should greet one another with God's name? Why was that necessary?
Maybe there was something missing in everybody's life in relation to God.
Maybe there was something missing. So you're correct. We learned that there was a famine during this time. We learned that the Shoftim, there was a distrust amongst the people, that it was a time of anarchy where people ran, through the streets and did literally whatever they wanted. So Boaz felt the necessity and the moral obligation to lift people up and to give people some chizuk during this time. So he said to them, Hashem imachem, God is with you. That's such a great way to share and say hello to somebody. You say hello, but you could also say, Kadosh Baruch Hu cares about you. God loves you. You think things are so difficult right now. They are difficult. But you should know that a Kadosh Baruch Hu is holding your hand through all of those difficulties. That's why Boaz made this takana. That's what the Mefarshim say. Boaz made this takana to give people the chizuk and strength they needed during a time that looked hopeless. And then Boaz says to his guys, his foremen, the people that are working for him in his field, the people that are sitting by the harvester, by the reapers, and he says to them, we discussed this pasuk the other day in Yizkor. He says, Lemi hana'ara hazos. To whom? Okay.
We have more.
So many people want to learn, Mendy. So many people are running and clamoring to learn, even in my house. Amazing. So he says, Lemi hana'ara hazos. To whom does this woman belong? And says to Gemara Maseches Shabbos, it's in Daf Yomi in about 45 days. So Gemara Maseches Shabbos says, Boaz is an elderly man. Boaz probably is around 78 years old at this time. And the Chidarcha Shel Boaz, Lishol Bena'aros, does Boaz, is Boaz like at a wedding right now and like, hey, like who's that young lad over there? Who's that young woman over there? Like, is she dating anybody? Is anyone interested? Like, and that's what Lemiha Narazos. That's what it sounds like. Who does this woman belong to? She looks like a great catch. No, tell me about her. Family status. What does she want? A learner or an earner? Like what? That's what it sounds like is going on over here. Lemiha Narazos. So the Gemara says that why did Boaz inquire about her? That wasn't Boaz's style. That would be inappropriate for the person that Boaz was. So the Gemara says that he saw two things about her that he needed to ask. Number one, he saw that she was sanua. And I believe there's some famous paintings out there about Rus and about how she bent down to pick up the barley and the wheat. She didn't bend down, but she sort of curtsied down to the floor in a very, very modest way that Jewish women should perform. And he hadn't seen that before. And secondly, he saw that she was a chachama, that she was a wise woman. Not just a wise woman, he didn't speak to her. How does she know that she was wise? Was she reading a philosophy book at the time that she was in the fields? No, but she knew the halacha. It was very clear that she knew what was considered leket, what was shecha, and what was peah. She didn't need people to direct her to what she was, entitled to as a impoverished woman, and what she wasn't entitled to. She knew what was hers and what wasn't. So he saw that she was a chachama in that way.
How did she know, Rabbi?
What?
How did she know? Who informed her?
Who informed her? What halacha did she know?
She didn't go to yeshiva. I mean, she didn't have a Rav to teach her. So how did?
Yeah, don't you find it sometimes that Gerim in general know a tremendous amount of Torah, right? They have to go through this rigorous process, whereas we grow up and it's a given when we go to yeshiva that we know everything.
Yeah, so where did she go through this process?
I don't know. Maybe Naomi taught her. She was inquisitive herself, and she took it upon herself to learn more. But I will share with you something very, very interesting. The Rambam in Hilchos Isurei Bia, Perek Yud Daled, right? This is fascinating. The Rambam in a halachic work, when he talks about, Milty, I wasn't going to quote this, but this is in honor of you. And I think it ties in perfectly, Milty, that the Rambam talks about Gerim, about converts, and what's the process of conversion. And he says, we quoted the beginning over here, that when a person comes to convert, we say, are you crazy? Like, why are you converting? If you convert, you will, what happens the day after conversion? We build you something, we give you a t-shirt. You know what the t-shirt is? It's a big target. It's a target on your front and a target on your back. You really want to be Jewish? Anti-Semitism, pogroms, Holocaust, this is what you want for yourself. But part of the process is you teach them mitzvahs. Api the Torah, api halacha, you initially teach them some mitzvos, and then they learn more. So you teach them some to get a flavor. And if you're interested in these, then maybe we'll do more. And the Gemara says, what do you teach them? Kalos v'chamuros. Easy mitzvos, kal, and chamuros, strict mitzvos. So the strict mitzvos are clear. We tell the non-Jew at this point, we tell them, oh, you like a cheeseburger? Great. You know what happens if you eat a cheeseburger right now? Nothing. You can enjoy it. Go to Burger King, do curbside pickup at Burger King or Wendy's. Go for it. Enjoy it. Guess what happens the day you convert? Malchus, Isurim, forbidden fats, kares, Shabbos, Saturday. What did you do this past Saturday? Oh, you went to the beach. Oh, you social. Now, if you drink, that's chamuros. It's a serious thing. But what are the kalos? What are the easier mitzvahs that we teach? This is very, very interesting. I bolded it right here. Umodinoso, avon, leket, shichacha, upeya, umaiser sheni. What are the halachos that we teach the ger? We teach them the halachos of matnos aniyim, the halachos of what we give the poor person in the field, plus meiser sheni, which is something different. But we give them, that's the halachos that we teach them. That's very interesting. So many mefarshim, not just one, but many mefarshim link this up. And they say the Rambam probably got this from the story of Rus. Rus is one of two models of conversion in the Torah. And we probably got that model from her as to what we teach the ger. Maybe this means, in light of Milty's question, maybe the Rambam intuited that part of Naomi's conversion classes were teaching these halachos, right? Maybe. That's thinking. Can
you go over what avon is? Sorry for interrupting. I didn't know.
Avon is sin.
Oh.
The violation. What would be the sin for not, giving these presents to the poor people?
I can't believe that we're studying all this right now, because my future son-in-law wants to learn about all the halachot and what makes us Jewish. And right now they're attending to like a neighborhood community garden where they're living. So it's like, this is so tied together.
Okay,
he wants
amazing.
to know it's amazing.
Amazing.
It's so relevant.
Baruch Hashem.
Yeah, Baruch
Okay.
Hashem.
Baruch Hashem. Okay, so that's the Chachma and Tznuah, that's what she saw. Amazing. Great. That's what he saw in her.
Mm-hmm.
We quoted the other night a beautiful pshat from Ramosha David Valley. Ramosha David Valley was one of the students of the Arizal in Tzfat. Mendy, maybe that should be one of our tours. So there's not so much Tanakh in Tzfat, but we could find some. So Ramosha David Valley was a student of the Arizal, probably the foremost, teacher of Kabbalah, practical Kabbalah in this, in this world. And Rosh David Valley is a parish on all of Tanakh. And he writes that it wasn't just that there were a lot of women that were chachamim, chachmaniot, and were tznuot. So what was so special about her? And he says something fascinating. He says that, usually somebody that is impoverished, that is going through a very difficult financial situation, a very challenging time, they lose all of their dignity. Not on purpose. They don't mean to lose their dignity, but they're so consumed by getting their next meal. They're so consumed by where is my food coming, and they're so consumed with themselves that they lose themselves. They lose who they are, and all their kavod atzmo, the kavod that they have for themselves, and that is lost. We call that dignity, and they lose it. And here Boaz is every single day he's feeding the poor, and he sees this every single day. And then he sees one woman, who is not behaving like everybody else. We don't blame those individuals, but she is not behaving like everybody else. And that is unique. That is special. There's something different. There's something different about her. So he says, Lamina Razos, who does she belong to? Who has inspired her to be who she is? There's something unique and special about this young woman. Okay, so Vayan Hanar Hanitzav ala Kotzrim. So the foreman, right? One, he says this to everybody, right? So the foreman answers, and he says, V'yomer Na'ara Moaviyahi. She is a Na'ara Moaviyah. She is a foreign woman. She comes from the Moabite lands. Hashava im Naomi miste Moab, who returned with Naomi from the fields of Moab, right? This is that woman. People are talking about this. Beis Lechem is a small town, right? When one person, what happens to one, everybody finds out about. And this is, that woman that we're talking about that, returned with Naomi and is taking care of her. This is she. This is her. And Vatomer, he continues, El Katana Vasafti Bomrim, Achre Kotrim Batavo Vatamod, Meazavoker Barata, Ze Shavta Habayis Ma'at. So this woman actually had a request. She said, can I reap by myself? I don't want to reap with everybody else, right? So she came a little bit later and separate from everybody else. And she's been on her feet all day, going ahead and taking as much food as she needs. So that's who this woman is. Clearly, she has no food, that she's concerned about tomorrow, that she's taking so much. It's only two women, one elderly woman. How much do people really need to eat, right? But it is a famine where the famine's a little bit over and you get nervous. So you buy 30 boxes of pasta from the supermarket if you're going out once. So Naomi, Rus is taking a lot of food this one time. So that Boaz says to Rus, I'm going to take care of you, right? Rabbi Yudin would say, Bubi, I'm going to take care of you. Vayomer Boaz el Rus, halo shamata biti al telchi lokot bisadeh acher. Boaz says to her, listen, you don't need to go anywhere else. All you need to do is come back here. I will take care of you for as long as you need. V'gam lo ta'avuri mizeh. V'chod tidbakin im na'arosai. Key word here. You need to cleave to my young women. You can go collecting with the other young women, but tidbakin with them. We've seen that word before. If you remember, when Rus ultimately makes a decision to connect and go on the path and the journey with Naomi, what's the language she uses? The Navi uses V'Rus davka ba. Rus, again, davka, like glue. We say glue in Hebrew. I don't know how to say glue in modern Hebrew. Anyone know? Glue in modern Hebrew. Rabbi Lapp.
Devek.
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 Devek. right? So to cleave to somebody or to connect deeply to somebody is Vatem hadvekim b'Hashem Elokeichem, right? Dvekus, tidbakun. Devek is glue. That's why devek is glue. And just like Rus did this to Naomi and cleaved to her, saying, I'm never going to let you go, take care of you forever. Boaz says to her, I always have your back. I will always take care of you. Mida keneged mida. Over here. Now, if you go back one pasuk, there's a halachic struggle that's going on here too, which we will need to address later on as well. This is where we'll end. We mentioned this a few times, that Moab was one of a few different nations that we could not convert from. We can't convert anybody from Moab and Ammon. Right? Lo yavo Ammoni u'Moavi bikal Hashem. That is the halacha. That is the halacha quoted in Parshas Ki Tetzei. Lo yavo Ammoni u'Moavi bikal Hashem. Now, if that's so, how can Rus convert? So one of the reasons why we continue to call her a Moaviyah is for this specific reason. Is she really Jewish? Doesn't the Torah say that Moaviyot cannot convert? So that is a part of this discussion over here. Is it only male Moavites or also female? And this is going to be brought eventually to the Beis Din of Boaz, where it was already. And we'll talk about that more. We'll talk about learn that Gemara. But again, this is going to continue to be addressed. And it's actually not going to end with Rus's life. It's going to end with David's life, because David is going to continuously be challenged as well as to whether he actually is Jewish by certain people. And it begins already in Megillas Rus by people continuing to call her a Moaviyah. Okay, we're going to stop here for today. I wish everybody a great day. Everybody should be healthy. It should be a good week. You're invited tonight. We're having a town hall meeting tonight to discuss the Minyan opening Bezrat Hashem next Monday.
What time?
Have a great